Welcome everyone to another episode of The Creative Minds. Joining me here today is Dana Abulaban. So Dana, can you tell me a bit more about who you are and what is it that you do?
Hi, Aida. I'm so honored to be your guest today. Thank you for inviting me. So, I'm a storyteller, a journalist, and a TV presenter. I currently work for MBC, mainly in the flagship morning show Sabah Al Khair Ya Arab. I also produce other shows for the channel. And I'm currently studying screenwriting because I want to enter this field soon.
Right, amazing, amazing. So how did you get into that path? Like what did you study? What did you do in university and then onwards?
I studied journalism at the American University in Dubai, and I did like a small minor in Middle Eastern studies. And I've always wanted to do journalism since I was a little girl. So I started working in television by coincidence, but writing has always been a dream of mine. It was just not mature enough at the time.
Yeah.
So I started working in TV and I really liked it. I liked the mix of visual and words, which wasn't something that I considered honestly as a student. So I never dreamed of being a TV presenter or
Mm.
working in television. I always wanted to write. And I've been doing this for about almost 9 to 10 years now.
Wow.
And I think it's time for me to catch up on my initial dream and to write, but not like books or articles. I want to write a screenplay or a series.
Amazing. And when you say your writing was not mature then, in what sense? Like why was it not mature then and how is it now mature?
My dream wasn't mature. Like I wanted to write, but I always made such a big deal out of it. Like, oh, I need a lot of life experience to be
Yeah.
able to write.
Yeah.
I always loved stories. Like since I was a little girl, I like hearing stories before I go to bed. Whenever I even used to see the music videos,
Mm.
my sister, I remember, used to narrate the stories for me.
Yeah.
I was always fascinated by storytelling
Yeah.
and fiction in general,
Yeah.
but I was always too scared to start to write my own. I'm like, am I capable of building characters and
Yeah.
telling stories? So I always doubted myself.
Yeah.
But at this point, I felt like whenever I watch a movie or watch a series, I'm always like, oh, this could have been written better. If I were to write this character, I would do this and that. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, why not give it a shot?
Yes.
And I'm a very structured person, so I don't like to get into things without don't knowing the basics first. That's why I'm doing the screenwriting course with New York Film Academy,
Nice.
so I can like have the basics set before I walk into this field.
Wow. Wow. And you mentioned fiction. So do you have something in mind currently that excites you?
I like so many things. I like fictional characters and fiction that is based on reality. So for example, if we talk about the Armenian genocide, when
Yeah.
you read about it, when you watch documentaries, when you
Mm.
read books, when you talk to Armenian people and friends that you know, you hear fascinating stories about their history. And I know it's been written about, it's been done somehow in the movies, but
Mm.
there's always something more you can do. So this is one of the causes that I believe
Mm.
in, and I believe need a bit more light to be shed on them.
Mm.
There's so many things in this world, and the beauty of screenwriting,
Mm.
Aida, is the journey
Mm.
that you go through in order to build your characters and build your story. So you go
Mm.
through research, you meet people, you might even travel, for example, to Armenia and see how life is. You might even have to go to Turkey and
Yeah.
see the Turkish viewpoint. So the journey itself is much more rewarding. Maybe my
Wow.
screenplay will not make it to the movies,
Yeah.
but the journey that I had to go through to finish it and to do it
Yeah.
is well worth it always. So yeah, I'm interested in everything. I'm interested in cultures. I'm interested in, like, whenever I see people in the street or I'm sitting in a coffee shop, sometimes I eavesdrop, not because I'm too curious or nosy,
Yeah.
but because I like listening to people's stories, and I
Yeah.
always think there's something inspiring everybody has to say.
Yes. 100%. And you talked about screenwriting. So what is screenwriting? How does the whole process go?
So everything in this life, whether it's a screenplay, whether it's an article, whether it's a documentary,
Mm.
it starts off with an idea. So
Mm.
you need to have a solid idea in mind.
Mhm.
It can be inspired by a world, for example, a country, a situation.
Mm.
It can be inspired by a dilemma,
Mm.
like, for example, a car accident.
Mm.
It can be inspired by a character that you met, like you met
Mm.
this person that you can't get out of your mind.
Mm.
And this person is your starting point in your screenplay.
Mm.
And then you start to develop this idea a bit further, like, okay, this is my idea. What is a screenplay? It's act 1, act 2, act 3. It's 3 acts.
Mm.
And then you start to build it bit by bit. The nice thing about the screenplay, you're not writing something from A to Z.
Mhm.
You just develop each sequence as if it can stand alone.
Mm.
And so that's basically it. I'm still in the process of studying it. I know
Yeah.
a lot more about journalism
Yeah.
and TV reporting and presenting than this, but this
Yeah.
is what I know so far. And I'm currently working on my first screenplay, but I can't tell you. It's about
Yeah,
what.
yeah,
It's a
yeah, of
surprise.
course.
Let's see.
Of course. And in the moments when, let's say, you are creating one, right? You're always talking about the journey, and I think it applies to
Mhm.
everything in life. It's like life is a journey itself too. Like everything you do is kind of like a journey. And you saying you're writing this and focusing not so much on the outcome, but on the process. How do you manage to motivate yourself to keep on thinking, on creating, on coming up with ideas and stories when you have not yet received or seen an outcome or even praised for the results?
Well, motivation comes from passion to begin with. Like, you
Mm.
have to love what you're doing, no
Mm.
matter what it is. I'll give you an example.
Mm.
A couple of years back, I did a docu-series on Syrian refugees in Europe.
Mm.
And I had to travel for about 28, 29, almost a month,
Mm.
to 5 different European countries.
Mm.
Um, and back then, this was my first big break. Like, I've never done something as huge as such project, and it's such a big responsibility. Like, I have to represent this community in the world. And in 2016, this was the talk of the town, like the biggest refugee crisis since World War II.
Yeah.
So I was burdened, honestly, with the responsibility,
Mm.
and I was given so much trust that it was a bit overwhelming. Like, I need to really figure this out.
Yeah.
And throughout the journey, I've had ups and downs. Like, there were days where I thought I was talking to myself, and this is where I learned it's very important what you say to yourself. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, why did they choose me? There are people who are much more experienced and they can do this much better than me. Now I'm lost. I don't know what to do. But I always brought myself back to the point of, okay, so I'm here and I need to do something. Whether it's a great success, whether it's a big failure, I need to go down on the road and figure it out, no matter what the outcome is. And I tried as much as possible to enjoy it, enjoy meeting people, try to get inspired, not let the hardships stand in my way. And I think everybody has their own journey and has their own understanding of this. But what I learned, and which was a mistake that I did, it's very important what you say to yourself. Don't tell yourself negative things. Don't doubt yourself. Even if you have to, like, overdo it and say, yes, I can do it. Yes, I'm capable. I have everything. Eventually it will sink in and it will give you the confidence you need to move forward. So A, passion, B, confidence, definitely.
Interesting. But don't you think sometimes it feels as if you're faking it? Because some people say fake it till you make it, or maybe, like you said, like fake few words until you feel it. Do you think it actually works? Like it worked for you?
Okay. Because you're not faking something that does not exist. Nobody has the full confidence from day one in what they do. And the more you love something and the more you believe in it and the more you really want it to work, the more likely you are to doubt yourself and feel like you're not good enough. And this is normal. This is what I want to tell people. It's okay to feel this way. Everybody who is anybody feels this way. Like, for example, I was talking to this comedian, and he said something. Every time he gets on stage, he's scared to death that people will not laugh. Like, this is his worst nightmare. Nonetheless, he gets on stage every single time and he gives it his best shot. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes half of them do, half of them don't.
Yeah.
But he never loses the will to do it. So
Yeah.
it's not about faking it or living a fake life. No, it's
Uh-huh.
just pushing yourself further, because nobody has the full confidence from day one. So
Mm,
you just give yourself that boost,
mm,
because you are your first fan.
mm.
If you don't like yourself, you don't believe in yourself, you can't expect other people to do it.
100%. And you talked about passion so many different times. You're doing something that gets you, something you enjoy or
Mhm.
inspires you. Then, for someone who, let's say, listening and has no idea what excites them, what inspires them, what should they do? Where should they start? Because we're after chasing that. But if you don't know that, then who are you? Right? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, everybody is passionate about something, and sometimes they might think it's not worth it to pursue it. Like,
Mm,
it's not worth pursuing.
mm,
So, what I would advise them is to never think little of anything that they like
mm,
or anything that they feel passionate about. And if you look at history, like, it could start with something very small.
mm,
Like, I'm obsessed with technology, I'm obsessed with phones. Take that further. Okay, so what can I do about this? Can this turn into a small business? Can
mm,
this be something that I write about? What is the form of expression that I'm most comfortable with? And today, it's not only about people passionate in media.
mm,
You need to be able to talk about what you love. You need to be able to sell yourself, to sell your product, to sell
mm,
your skill, your talent. So this is something everybody needs to work on.
mm,
And I advise people to brainstorm and to really watch themselves closely. What do they talk about? Each person, like in your life, they have an interest. So you see, one of your friends is always talking about cars. And when you ask them, what are you passionate about? Oh, I don't know. I don't have any passion. Well,
yeah,
this is your passion.
yeah,
So don't think little of anything that interests you, and
mm,
it can turn into something. Like,
yeah,
for example, this friend of yours who likes cars can end up doing a YouTube show reviewing cars, or
mm,
talking about the mechanics of cars, or how to choose the best car. This is just one example.
yeah,
So don't think little of anything that
yeah.
interests you. It can really turn into something.
Amazing. And you talked about brainstorming several different times. When do you find the time um, to sit down and kind of like brainstorm and reflect?
It's not a certain moment or a certain time of day. It's a
Mm,
state of mind that you put yourself in,
mm,
that I am willing to accept any inspiration that I receive throughout the day. For example, we spend like 6, 8 hours at work. That doesn't mean that I'm only just working and focused on work. Yes, my focus is very high on what I do, but that doesn't mean that I don't listen to my surroundings. I don't listen to what people say, to their problems, to their concerns, and
mm,
that can inspire me. So I always have a notebook
mm,
with me wherever
mm,
I go,
mm,
or sometimes if I forget it, like, I just write it on my phone.
mm,
Whenever I get an idea, it can be something on the news, it can be a report in a news channel.
mm,
So at my place of work, we're always exposed to news channels and what other channels are saying. So when you're listening, I could hear, for example, or watch a story about a little girl that
mm,
is so inspiring, and then I can note it down, and it can be inspiring, or it can inspire a part of my screenplay.
mm,
So you're always in a state of working on your big idea, but
mm.
not always consciously. So
Yeah.
always be open. This is the most important tip I can give anyone. Be open to receiving inspiration, ideas. Don't just feel, okay, I'm gonna, or decide I'm gonna have like 1 hour to work on my
Yeah.
screenplay every day. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
That hour would come, and then you would be like, okay, what do I do? I'm not
Yeah.
inspired. I was so out of it the whole day, and now you think the inspiration will just come to you.
Yeah.
No, this is something that you need to have at the back of your mind the whole day,
Mm,
not very consciously or to stress about it.
mm,
Just be open to receiving
mm.
inspiration, wherever it may come from.
I love that you mentioned this open to receiving. You said, okay, you have an idea, comes up at any moment in time, you write it down, document it on your notebook or on your phone, let's say. But then do you ever go back and look at them?
Of course, like this is the first thing I look at when I'm trying to begin to write something, or when I'm stuck, even at work, like, forget
Mm,
screenplay. At work, you have to come up with ideas on daily basis and be
Mm,
creative and try to apply them in the most plausible way
mm,
possible. So yeah, I do go back to them. Sometimes it's something that pops up on Instagram.
mm,
So I save the post, and then when I'm stuck, I go back to my notes, I go back to these posts,
mm,
and I'm able to get inspired and find ideas for episodes, for topics to talk about,
mm,
for so yeah, these are your Bible,
mm,
and you
mm,
need to start the habit
mm,
of writing down things, of noting what interests you. It can be something that I'm watching a series on Netflix, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is a great idea. We need to talk about this.
yeah.
Can come up from anywhere. So we
Okay.
need to not limit ourselves. Yeah.
So now you're saying gathering idea, writing them down, and always using them and referring back to them for inspiration. But it's because you have something to use it towards. Let's say it's
Mhm.
your work, it's your art that you're creating. What if someone is inspired by different things and has so many different ideas, jots them down, but there's no end result being produced
Mhm.
somewhere?
They need to have a target or a goal in mind, an end goal. So, for example, if I want to write a screenplay, it doesn't mean I'm going to produce it tomorrow. It might be a long-term goal,
Mm,
but that doesn't mean that I start working on it, okay, the 6 months before.
mm,
It means that you start working on it from the minute you decide that you're gonna have your own or produce your own screenplay.
mm,
It's the same. It applies to everything, to every goal or dream in life.
mm.
Maybe my ideas all from media because
Yeah.
this is my passion, but it can apply to everything. Don't wait till the last minute,
Mm,
and you need to have a goal, or else all these ideas you're jotting down are just memoirs,
yeah.
memories in the future. But you need to have a goal in mind. Decide what you want to achieve, whether it's
Mm,
short term or long term. And I'm sure there's a way you can use all of these ideas
mm,
if you have a goal.
mm, mm, mm. Okay. And let's say when you're also working, let's say you're writing a
Mhm.
script, you're writing your series, do you always have an end goal or you do it step by step? Like,
What do you mean?
do you have a big image that you want to create from the certain series that you're creating? Because it's
Hmm.
like it's like you get inspired in the way and in the process. So you're writing, let's say, several different series or several different episodes, and you get inspired as you're writing them or from other things
Hmm.
as well. Do you always start it off at the beginning with a big image, a big goal, and start building up towards it?
There's no right or wrong with this.
Mm,
No, you don't have to start with a big goal. It can start small, and with the writing,
mm,
it changes. Like you reread it and then you change it, and
mm,
sometimes you start developing your story, and
mm,
you discover that the initial inspiration isn't something that you want to address anymore, and it turns
mm,
into something bigger. Because sometimes you write, you get inspired by a quote or
mm,
of a life wisdom or something.
mm,
And you start off by um, getting inspired by this wisdom. And
mm,
then by the midpoint, maybe you say, okay, I want to challenge this wisdom. It doesn't
mm,
apply all the time.
mm.
So it changes. Like it's not something that is set in stone. This is my goal and I'm working towards it. It might change. That is why the journey is more important than the
Yeah.
destination.
Basically, you're exposed a lot to social media, to being
Yes.
exposed in front of a lot of people. How was that for you?
It was so hard in the beginning. Like
Oh,
it's not easy. And
wow.
I used to be a very shy, private person. And I even remember in university when we had to do our first interview assignment.
Yeah.
It was the worst thing I've ever done in my life. Like
Yeah.
the guest is sitting in front of me and I'm looking at the paper and I'm like, why is there a camera on me? I don't want to, I don't
Yeah.
want a camera on me. And the professor was like, no, you can't do this. Then we had another assignment and I was
Yeah.
also so shy that I even deleted the video and I turned it into a written interview. So I've never in my life imagined as a teenager or as a university student that I would be exposed and I would be on camera.
Yeah.
But the minute you get out of your comfort zone, especially when you're really young and starting off, when you're really young, you have nothing to risk, nothing to lose. And I was new in the field and I was eager to learn everything.
Mm.
So when I was presented the opportunity, I didn't say no because I wanted to learn. Like, I didn't want to say no. No was not in my dictionary back then. Do you want to do this? Yeah. Do you want to learn this? Yes. Do a report on this. I used to say yes. Go live from here. Oh, do this segment on technology. Okay, I will do my research. So I used to do my research, and this is how I started getting comfortable with it.
Mm.
This is my topic. I do proper research. I prepare like there's no tomorrow so that it can give me a bit more confidence when I'm on camera. But
Mm.
until today, honestly, it doesn't, like, it's not my goal to be famous or to
Mm.
be liked for my looks, or but I love to present the content I'm passionate about, and this is what drives me.
Yeah.
Not the appearance, not the camera, not the lights, not the fans or
Mm.
followers. It's mostly sharing my passion with people, and it means so much to me when somebody messages me or talks to me and says, I love what you said about 123. Thank you for talking about this.
Mm.
This is like my end goal. Whether
Yeah.
I'm on camera or off camera, this is my end goal, and this is what keeps me going.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. And how did you kind of like transition from being this shy person to being more confident? Like it
I
definitely
don't know.
included.
It takes a lot of work, honestly. It takes a
Yeah.
lot of work, and you make a lot of mistakes along the way. Like I was a university student, and I was suddenly working,
Mm.
and you face a lot of different kinds of people in this field or in any field.
Yeah.
And I used to be super sensitive, and if anybody criticizes me or says something that I don't like, I used to go back home and cry. And I grew, like, it's a growth process.
Mm.
So in order to survive in something that you love, you need to develop thick skin. You can't be fragile. You
Mm.
can't be upset about anything that happens. You can't expect everybody to like or love you. And this is something I had to work really hard on. And it took me years of hard work to
Mm.
understand that not everybody has to like me. I don't have to please everyone. And it's okay if some people talk about me behind my back, because
Yes.
this is how life is. You cannot
Yeah.
be liked or loved by everyone.
Yeah.
And this is the biggest lesson, honestly, that I learned. Don't seek people's approval for everything.
Yeah.
And not everybody's opinion matters of you. It's nice to be accepting of criticism, of opinions, of suggestions, but don't lend your ear to every single person in your life.
Mm.
No, not everybody matters, and not everybody should have the right to criticize or to ridicule or to advise you. Like,
Yeah.
the advice doesn't come from anyone.
Yeah.
So the more I grew as a confident person in my life, the more I was confident on screen,
Mm.
and the more I worked on, because you are your first critic. So I used to watch myself
Mm.
and criticize myself. Okay, so I need to work on the way I pronounce the letters.
Mm.
I need to work on my breathing, because breathing is the key skill for any TV presenter.
Wow.
So I used to watch myself, and I used to get advice and criticism, but from people I consider mentors.
Yeah.
And I owe it to them. Like, they used to tell me, you did this, that, 1, 2, 3. You need to work on these 3.
Mm.
And I used to sit back home and work on them. And every time I go on screen, I go back home and I watch myself. And if you ask any TV presenter, this is one of the hardest things you ever have to do, is watch yourself and listen to your voice. Nobody
Yeah.
likes their voice.
Yeah.
And whenever you see yourself, you become too critical. Oh, why is my hair like that? Oh, why am I looking like
Yeah.
this? Why did I? Once you uh, force yourself, because in the beginning you have to really force yourself, because it's not something that anybody likes doing, and you start I started like criticizing myself to become better. And I didn't look at the TV presenting career as like an end goal of, oh, I need to like succeed as a presenter. I need to succeed as a journalist and as a content creator and as a storyteller. And in order to tell stories, I need to develop these skills. Bit by bit, things got better, and I'm really happy when I like watch old videos or watch old reports of mine today, and I see how far I've come
Yeah.
along the way. And it's very rewarding. Anybody can achieve whatever they
Yeah.
want, but it takes a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Nobody is lucky enough to develop skills. Like these skills, they need commitment, they need a, a lot of commitment, a lot of seriousness.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%. And you mentioned an interesting point that I'd never really thought of, this idea of breathing. How is breathing important? Like, what do you mean by that?
Because when you're reading on
Yeah.
screen, it's different than when you're talking to someone. Because
Mm.
you're telling people a story. You're
Mm.
not reading from a book. If you're reading a book, you're like, you have the same tone and you're reading it to yourself.
Mm.
So you're kind of able to understand it because you can see the words and you can imagine them and you're the one reading. But when you're the storyteller to the audience,
Mm.
you need to divide your sentences in a way that makes sense. So you
Mm.
can't stop when you're not supposed to stop.
Mm.
So this is all related to the breathing, and your voice, the tone of your voice needs to be convincing and needs to reflect confidence
Mm.
and maturity. So if you can't organize your breathing, if you don't know
Mm.
how to breathe properly, you're not going to be able to stop when you're supposed to stop. You're going to stop reading when you can't breathe anymore,
Yeah.
when you're out of breath. When you're out of breath, you start another sentence. So people are going to be like, okay, what is she talking about?
Yeah.
But they won't be able to follow properly.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the importance of breathing. So you can breathe well. If you can breathe well, that's why meditation is very important in this field. You're able to read better. You're able to tell stories better. And you're able actually to stop reading and start telling.
I love it. And how would you say your day to day is like? Like you mentioned meditation, so I'm assuming you also apply meditation to your life. What is, let's say, a typical day, or let's say a good day for you from the day you wake up to like the day you sleep, the time you sleep?
Okay, so I wake up an hour max before I have to get to work. I love to sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep is very important to me.
Yeah.
And it's very important for you to be functional and
100%.
awake and aware the whole day. So yeah, I get my coffee. That's the number one thing that I need to start my day with. Coffee, small breakfast. I go to the office. I socialize. I work. Like our field of work is not very like, okay, I'm on my desk for 6 hours. No, you socialize a lot. You see people. You're presented with ideas. You're asked for advice. You ask people for advice. It's a very interesting, creative environment. And then sometimes I go to the gym right after work. So I have like my gym bag. Exercise is very important to me. I have to go at least 5 times a week, 4 to 5 times, 4 times minimum. If I want to do shopping, I would do shopping alone, like buy a couple of things that I need. I come back home. I read a lot. Like I have a lot of books, so I have to read on daily basis. Even if my day is full, I just try to have like this half hour with a book and some music. What else? If I have some time, I go see a couple of friends somewhere close. I don't like to drive. I don't like to go to places that are far. So the closer, the better. And yeah, I watch Netflix, I watch documentaries, I read articles. Sometimes I get so obsessed with something that I start researching and watching things about it. Like recently, I was, and don't ask me why, I was obsessed with the airplane crash investigations.
Oof, yeah.
And I really want to know where the Malaysian airplane is today.
Yeah.
I'm just researching this and watching 60-minute shows about it and like articles. So yeah, I'm always searching for something.
And what are you searching for though? Like, when would you feel satisfied? When you what?
When I find find out where the airplane went.
But I mean generally, like what stuff? Yeah.
I don't have to get a final answer regarding something to feel satisfied. It's just the journey. So for example, when I watched Parasite, the Oscar-winning film, the Korean film. And I was astonished. What is this screenplay? What is this movie? How did they come up with it? So I went back home and I started researching the director, watching YouTube videos on what it means, what he meant when he put people underground, and some people like were kind of on ground, and some people were like hidden. I had to understand every clue. So I enjoyed it, but I needed to make sense of it. So my answer to you is, when things make sense to me, then I'm satisfied.
What are your thoughts about a Squid Game? The Squid Game.
I didn't see it yet, and I'm seeing all the buzz about it. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it.
Same.
I didn't see it yet. I want to see it, but I'm overwhelmed with like how much people are obsessed with it. Like, when did it come out? A week ago?
Yes. Something like that. I'm not sure when, but it's such a huge hype. And
did you watch it?
I watched a bit, 15 minutes of it, but then I didn't continue. But then I started like figuring, like, people told me more about it. So now watching it, I'm thinking like I might not enjoy it as much, but we'll see, because it's such a hype. So I guess I am. So I'm gonna ask you like a few more questions. So how do you balance your life? How do you, because you're very creative, you're always thinking, you're always reading. Sometimes it can get really overwhelming. So how do you balance your life in a sense where you want to stay creative, but you don't want to lose motivation and inspiration, but you want to stay functioning? How do you balance that?
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not always able to balance. It's a struggle that I go through. But one thing that I'm doing that seems to work is I give myself the permission to let go and just relax when I feel like I can't do it anymore. So if over the weekend, for example, today is Friday, I allow myself to just sleep in, do whatever I feel like doing, maybe stay at home, watch a couple of movies, and not be overwhelmed with tasks and what I have to do, what I have to achieve. So from time to time, it's important, I feel, to let go and give yourself permission to relax, to sleep in, to not think about anything, to be late to something. Yesterday, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and she's like me when it comes to work. She's very disciplined and she needs everything to be organized. But she's like, when I went to the movies with my friends, I was half an hour late. I'm like, what? Like, you missed 30 minutes of the movie. She's like, this is my chance to slack in my personal life. I'm able to at least relax, and it's okay to be late to something. So it's a balance, and it depends on every person. So for me, I'm so by the book and very organized at work. And I have like a list of tasks that I need to finish every day. And when I'm focused, I'm 100% focused on my task. But on my own time, I allow myself to be a bit more flexible.
Amazing. And who would you say someone you look up to dearly and inspires you?
In what field? In what sense?
It could be anything. The first person that comes in mind who would say inspires you in life, in creating, in being the best version of you, let's say.
Inspired by anybody who is achieving and successful in their line of work and their passion. Anybody who is driven, who is not shy to share their experience, their success secrets. So I was talking about one example is Viola Davis. She's one of my favorite actresses and women activists, because I feel like through her work and the roles that she takes on and her activism, she's going towards the same goal: equal rights for everybody, a women empowerment. A woman can be whoever she wants to be, and she doesn't have to fit to a certain standard. So I'm really inspired by that, by how bold she is. And I feel like, and I don't know if you agree, we as humans are attracted or inspired by people who represent something that we would like to either achieve or are too scared to do it as boldly as they
Mm,
do it.
mm,
So when I look at her, I'm like, this is a bold, attractive woman who is not afraid to speak her mind.
mm.
And maybe at the back of my mind, this is something that I want to be, but
Yeah,
maybe I'm a bit too shy to be as
yeah,
bold as she is.
yeah,
So we're always inspired or attracted to people who represent something that we would either like to achieve or are too scared to
yeah,
pursue.
yeah. I was gonna ask you, like, do you think you're a person who's afraid to be as bold as she is?
I'm not, I like being the shy person I've come a long way
Yeah, yeah,
today.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm always fascinated by people who are bold because it's not something in my nature, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like
So,
I'm the quiet kind of
yeah.
um, I don't want to say influencer. I don't want to say influencer in the sense that what an influencer is
Mm,
today.
mm,
I'm like the quiet kind of uh, you can say influencer. I'm
mm.
quiet. I like to work not under the spotlight as much. I speak my mind, but I'm very careful with what I say, what I don't say.
Mm,
I'm very considerate to other people's feelings and beliefs. So maybe I overthink things
mm,
and I
mm,
can't be as bold as she is. I don't know. Like we're
mm,
all in the process of figuring
100%,
ourselves out. But I love bold women, bold
100%.
women who speak their minds, who aren't afraid to be on camera without makeup, to talk about issues, to speak about things that are not expected of them,
Mm,
to go against the standard the world has put for
yeah,
women, how a woman should be like. So
yeah,
yeah, I'm very inspired by these kinds of women, and I salute their bravery.
yeah. So, what would you say is a fun fact about you that most people do not know?
Fun fact about me that most people do not know. Mm, I don't know. Like
Very
I'm
interesting.
very afraid to fly. Like flying is my
Really?
biggest anxiety. Yeah,
Oh, wow. Why?
and it's too scary for me. Like I usually take the earliest flight possible
Yeah.
so I can sleep on the plane. I
Oof.
can't be awake on the plane. It's
Oof.
too scary for me. I remember once I was coming back from New York, and I always plan my trip. It's super early. I don't sleep the night before, so I can sleep on the plane. So I get to the airport, and we learn that our flight is 3 hours late.
Yeah.
So I have my luggage next to me, and I sleep for a bit
Yeah.
in the in the airport. And I don't remember going into the plane.
No
Like
way.
I till today I don't remember. And it's an 11 hours flight or
Yeah.
12 hours from New York to Dubai.
Yeah.
And I remember waking up in the plane maybe 45 minutes or 1 hour after takeoff. And I was so freaked out. I almost cried. I was screaming. I'm like, who got me here? And I looked at the screen and it's like 2 hours left and the plane is in the air. And I felt like, no, I didn't choose this.
Oh my
Why
God.
am I here? And I'm
Yeah.
wide awake because I slept in the airport and I slept for an hour. So I was like the biggest nightmare for all the cabin crew that day because they're trying to calm me down. They're like, what do you want to drink, ma'am? Do
Yeah.
you want to eat something? No, I don't eat on airplanes. I don't eat.
Yeah.
I always put the do not disturb and I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
So recently, after 2 years of
Yeah.
not being able to travel or a year and a half because of COVID,
Yeah.
I appreciated the ability to fly. So I was a bit better on my post-COVID trip.
Yeah.
But I feel like now, okay, now travel is back. I'm gonna go back to being my old self and be too scared to fly.
Oh my God.
That's why I
Oh,
like to understand how airplanes work and I watch
yeah.
these air crash investigations because I want to know when something goes wrong that I understand what
Yeah.
happened, even
Yeah.
if it's not going to change the
Yeah.
outcome.
I was just gonna
But
tell
I
you,
like
like, don't watch those anymore.
it really helps with a lot of people are telling me that, but
Yeah.
I believe it really helps control the fear because
Mm,
usually we're too afraid of things we
mm,
don't understand.
mm,
So the more you understand it, and for example, what I learned from all these air crash investigations, how unlikely they are to happen.
mm.
and the percentage is very low, and how far we've come in the industry, that flying in maybe the 80s or the 90s was much more dangerous than flying today.
Mm.
So you learn throughout, like while watching these. Maybe this is my experience, somebody else might get too scared, but for
100%.
me, I'm more comfortable with airplanes because I understand them. Like I know how they work, I know what the cabin crew do, I know what happens in the cockpit a bit more. So I'm not as scared as I was
Amazing.
before.
The final question is, what is your definition of success?
Success is doing something that you love and never giving up and never finding excuses for not achieving. Because a lot of times, and I meet people that tell me, oh, I'm the best, I don't know, TV anchor. But the opportunity was given to someone who knows someone. The more you give yourself excuses, the more you find excuses for, I don't want to say failure, mishaps, or for anything that goes wrong along the way, the further you are from success. So to me, success is moving forward, following your passion, no matter what happens around you. You believe in yourself and you don't resort to finding excuses for not achieving. And even if it's true, like for example, I have lost a lot of opportunities because they were giving maybe to someone else for a different reason. I never spoke to myself, oh, I'm so good, but they're not appreciating me. I'm not getting this opportunity because this person. No, I keep moving forward. I didn't get this, I will get the next one. And good things happen to people who work hard. So it's not about luck at all. You can be the luckiest person on earth and still not be able to achieve what you want. Work hard, never find excuses or seek excuses for your failures. And whenever you fail, don't take a long time just wailing and feeling sorry for yourself. Keep moving forward and you will become successful.
Yeah, like fail fast. Yes, I love it. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. So thank you again so much, Dana, for your time. I loved everything you're sharing.
Thank
I
you,
loved the
Aida.
conversation. And for everyone listening, where should they usually connect with you or find you?
They can find me on Instagram, on my Instagram account at Dana Abulaban. And if they have any ideas or they want to share something with me, they can always email me. My email is also linked to my Instagram account. Twitter is also a social network that I use, and I'm trying to get the hang of TikTok, but not yet. So don't go there.
Awesome.
So Instagram for now, Instagram and Twitter for now.
Okay, awesome. And thank you everyone.
Thank you, Aida, for this.
Of course, it was my pleasure. And for everyone listening, thank you for listening to this episode. And I hope you all have an amazing, awesome rest of your day.